right. Welcome back. This is Walk and Talk number 6. Again, looking for feedback on how people like this. Is this something that we want to continue? If there's other subjects that you want to talk about, definitely let me know in the comments and we can keep on visiting this outdoor location and we'll see if there's any other critters this time. What we're going to talk about this time is how a manufacturing issue can cause thousands of dollars worth of loss to your company and why you want to double check on all these different things to deal with production, logistics, all these other things, selling, period, but also selling on Amazon, no matter how many other people say that it's kind of a set it and forget it thing. It's not, unless you have someone else running it for you. Until you have someone else running it for you, all these different things need to be looked at. I would say on a daily basis, but multiple times a week at least, no matter how much you think stuff is running on autopilot, as far as like programs and bots and things like that. But actually have people look into this. The other things that happen is you'll get used to how things work, and that might make you a little bit lazy on putting in SOPs. And that's something that you'll also want to have in place because as your company grows, you're going to run into mistakes and errors, and then you're going to put certain things in place to stop those errors from happening a second, third time. In this particular situation, at least to me, this is one of the reasons why when we work with other Amazon sellers, we want to make sure that we're working with someone that has direct access to the manufacturing process. In other words, it's a real challenge if you're having your stuff made overseas and you don't necessarily have a lot of control because things can change and you don't know. This is why if you have stuff made overseas, you have independent inspectors go in and check your stuff. Depending on your individual business model, having stuff made in the US may not be plausible. However, for who we work with, we try to keep everything US based, or at least a majority of the components or the assembly here in the US, where there's hands on the product and we can find problems before they get out in the field. And you will see how the thing about Amazon or pretty much any of these other tools for commerce, as you scale, just know that you have leverage, and leverage can be used for you or leverage can be used against you. Being able to sell thousands and thousands of units a month is a really good thing until those are bad units. And then you're able to push out thousands and thousands of bad units a month. And then you have to go and pull that back or fix things, or your capital that you needed is tied up in that inventory that's now bad, so you can't afford to order new inventory. Oh, and this is also why we always encourage, as people are growing, to not take not deal with huge MOQs until you've got things down. Like if it's your first order, get the smallest MOQ or buy samples and try selling those. And then later on, as you grow, as you get more mature, as you understand your manufacturing processes, then yeah, you can get bigger and bigger in scale. Always be double checking on these different things. Overall, in this particular situation that went on, this all started about a year ago. We had one of the clients, we had a product and it sells really well in a lot of different places. We have our own version of it that we have up on Amazon that we have custom e-com packaging for. The retail packaging is not appropriate for this particular product. We were getting ready for the busy season, let's say, and we were sending in, and on this particular one, for this one SKU, we're sending in about 8,000 units. That's roughly 20 pallets worth of this. What happened is we're ramping up for the busy season, and the reason we send in 8,000 units is it's very easy to go through 4 to 6,000 in a month during the heavy season for this particular product. We want to ship in over what we need because it's not like it's going to drop the 30 days and then the next 30 days is zero. It's like, no, it's going to ramp up to that high and then it's going to slowly taper down. So we sent in 8,000 units. And of course, we already had inventory in. This would be the additional to help bump us over. And I forget how much we had in stock previously. What happened is I get an alert. I've set up the shipments. I've got everything shipping in. The LTLs are sometimes they show up on time, sometimes they don't. Another thing you got to deal with. But then I started getting alerts on Amazon that something I've got a safety concern on my product. And to me that was kind of confusing. It didn't make sense. It's not a This product couldn't be dangerous if you blast it out of a cannon and hit someone with it. So it didn't make sense. As I dig into it, I'm starting to see that I'm getting dozens of bangs on the account saying safety concern, safety concern, safety concern, overweight, overweight, overweight. And I was like, doesn't make any sense. Dug into it, made a case, asked for pictures. This is what you always do whenever you're dealing with Amazon and they start throwing bangs at you for any violation. You're like, okay, well, send me photographic evidence of what you're claiming is happening. Show me multiples of it. Show me all the angles. And they'll either give you shots from a tunnel, somebody will take it out, they'll take pictures of it individually. Either way, you want pictures because you want to know this is your product, first of all. Side note, you want to make sure, like we've had ones before where we were told that our product was like it was the wrong size. It was whatever box it was. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. We didn't change the size on this thing. It's the same box it always been. And we finally got the pictures back because they paused our entire inventory and I got the pictures in. And what had happened is the tunnels at Amazon, they have conveyor belt tunnels that have a bunch of cameras in them. And so they take pictures to look at the products. Well, what happened is somebody else's stuff on the conveyor belt was laying just in the right position to where the camera software drew a box around the whole thing. So someone else's stuff was close to us. Now you could see the branding on that one, the branding on ours. There were clearly two different things if a human looked at it, but human didn't look at it. A lot of this stuff is automated. We got the picture back, and I was like, sent back to the case. We could clearly see here that this is XYZ product and this is our product. Please remove this bang and get us going again. And they fixed it. So that's just a side note. Anytime you're dealing with Amazon for problems, physical attribute problem, get pictures because they make mistakes all the time and they'll shut you down, they'll blame you, and then later on, when someone looks at it, an actual person instead of a computer, they'll be like, oh, yeah, sorry, our bad. And jump on those fast because if they shut down your listing, you could be out days. And if you're selling thousands of dollars a day, that's thousands of dollars a loss. All right, let's go back to where we were. I'm getting all these bangs on the account and it's saying overweight. And I'm asking for some kind of evidence. Give me a picture. Give me a picture of this on a scale, something like that. They sent it back and they're like, okay, this case pack is 59 pounds. I was like, well, that's weird because we've been running this particular e-com packaging version of this product for years now from my prep center up in Dallas. And we've got this process down pat and have never had any issues. It was like, that's weird. Why would my guys suddenly pack more stuff in a box when they need to? Because I have it engineered to be exactly 48 pounds. Another note, so on Amazon, when you're sending in packages for case packs, the maximum weight is 50 pounds. And that's going to be 50 pounds of the product plus the actual corrugate box and any other packaging done and just stuff like that. It needs to be 50 pounds or under. And that's because anything higher than that is going to be a team lift. And anything that the product is smaller than that, they're not going to allow that. Now, if you're sending in a barbecue or couch, then yes, it could be over 50 pounds. But in the case where the individual product is lighter than 50 pounds, it needs to be in a case pack under 50 pounds. So I had that engineered. So we had exactly 20 units in a case pack, perfectly sized. So it's 48 pounds. What the 48 pounds does is it gives me a little wiggle room. If someone's scale is off, and one scale is high or one low, I'm still under that 50 pounds. That gives me a buffer on that. I also know that that box is perfectly sized for 20 units. You could not fit a 21st unit into the box. There's just no room for it. So what happened? So I contact the prep center and I'm like, hey guys, I'm getting all these bangs on our account. Oh, and also just so all that inventory is now getting sequestered, which means we can't sell it because it's now a safety concern for Amazon. I call up the prep center and go, hey guys, what's going on? Do you have any more of these? Because frequently what we'll do is we'll process the entire thing, because again, custom e-com packaging, and then we'll send in what makes sense at the time. And then also in the heavy season, we'll send in 1 to 2 trucks to our guys to process them, and then we'll send in LTL size shipments based on what Amazon will let us, whatever our ceiling is at the time, because it's not like Amazon won't just take a truckload of stuff. There's inventory ceilings that you have to deal with, and those change dynamically depending on what your sales rate is and then how full all the centers are. They had extra cases on there. I was like, hey, can you weigh one of those cases to see what's going on? And they weigh it and they were like, here you go, 59 pounds. I was like, uh-oh, did you fit 21, 22, 23 in that box? They're like, no, there's no room for that. I was like, okay. All right, take out an individual unit and can you weigh that and send me a picture of this on a scale. Okay, take it out of the ecom box and just weigh the naked product on a scale. Send that to me. And of course, I retain samples locally so I can do all this sort of testing and make sure that everything's going right. Well, this particular product, with the product and the individual regular retail packaging and all that, is roughly 32 ounces, which is 2 pounds. And when you weigh just the package, it ended up being 2.65 pounds. Well, and this is a grocery product. As far as a consumer would be concerned, they're actually getting 30% more product than they would normally get. Great for them, bad for us for a handful of reasons. One, now we're dealing with Amazon taking all of our stuff, our 19 pallets of 21 cases, all safety concerns. So you go into the account and how sometimes you'll get a bang, it'll be a little red X and saying you did something wrong. I've got a laundry list of that, just repeating over and over, and every day new ones come in. And so at this point, that entire shipment has been pulled, which means we don't have access to it. Fortunately, we still had inventory from before, so we're not dead in the water, but we have to act quickly in order to make sure everything is fine. I started digging into this and contact the brand owner and say, "Hey guys, I think I got some sort of manufacturing issue here on weight. Did you adjust the formula? Looking at the artwork on the front of the unit, still 32 ounces. We didn't change the size." And they're like, "No, we didn't change anything, but we're testing out a new manufacturer that's going to allow us to scale up. So these would be coming from those guys." It's like, okay, well, something's going on here where we've got this product it's 2.65 pounds instead of 2 pounds. And they're like, oh, that's not good. And I was like, yeah, it's not good because also now we have all these safety concerns. So now we have to write a letter back to Amazon to get permission to sell this because we broke their rules by sending them heavy stuff that one of their employees could hurt themselves by picking up a box because it's too heavy. They think it's 48 pounds, it's 60 pounds. That's a problem. I dig into this. I go talk with the brand owner and get some of the new product to get some in my hands. And then I do analysis on it and take it apart and go, look, somebody's tinkering with the formula and they've upped the water amount on this particular product and they are overfilling the individual units that are in the retail packaging. And so they went back with the manufacturer and said, what's going on? What happened here? What happened there? So they're starting their investigation over with the manufacturer. In the meantime, I have this product there's nothing wrong with it. The formula is a little bit different, but you're getting 30% more product than you're supposed to, and that's fine. But now we're dealing with that issue. In order to be given permission to send product back into Amazon, we have to make a written plan on what we're doing to prevent this from happening in the future, and then acknowledge what the problem is, and then write up what we're going to do to solve the problem. And in our particular situation, what we do now, and we hadn't done it before, we did it initially when we first started packaging a long, long time ago, but now we do it on every single run, where we take the product before it's in the e-com packaging when we get it in the truck, and we weigh it. So this is part of our assembly SOP. We get one unit, we weigh it, we compare it to what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be 2 pounds. And so if it's over or under a particular amount, throws up a red flag, they call me, and then we go down that path of resolving that issue. We weigh the product, then we pack it, and then we case pack it, and then we weigh a case when we case pack it. Basically, we're going to pull and do sample testing. In these particular cases, it'll be on the initiation of an individual run. We weigh an individual, we weigh a case pack. At the tail end of that run, same thing. We weigh an individual, we weigh a case pack. We write that down. That goes into that particular run, the paperwork that goes with the run. And that helps us make sure that we don't do it again. Now, we didn't do anything wrong at the prep center. We just didn't know that they overfilled the packages. We implemented these SOPs, put that in place. We wrote all this stuff off to Amazon. We got cleared. It probably took about 3 weeks in total before they released that in particular inventory, and then that went into live inventory. We were allowed to sell it. Now, the wrinkle that I didn't realize was that because this product is heavier, it now falls into a different fulfillment category. Not necessarily category, but tier, the pricing tier. Looking at what it should have been and what it is, it's going to cost us an extra 65 cents per unit because these are heavier. Oops. Well, that's 8,000 units. That's 65 cents. That's $5,000. So because of this mistake at the manufacturer, and because we didn't catch it at the prep center, because we weren't looking for it, we've been selling this stuff for years, and we've never had a weight issue. But hey, first time for everything. So that's going to cost us an extra, not only, but an extra to $5,000 in just fulfillment fees, because it is physically heavier to send this product out on Amazon. We're looking at potential loss of sales while we didn't have access to the inventory. We have to write a letter. We have to re-update our SOPs. And now we're looking at, well, what did the manufacturer do? I guess they're customizing the formula for the new manufacturer. And maybe they thought, well, we're not quite sure on all these measurements, and we'll just put more stuff in the package because no one's going to complain that they get too much. And normally that'd be the case, except when the weight makes a difference and you get safety concerns and then higher fulfillment fees. Pretty sure that's something the new manufacturing people didn't think about. That's stage one for this particular one. Now, what we find out months later is that for whatever they did to change the formula, the product wasn't, I don't know a good word for it. It wasn't the same as the original. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't the same. And then people noticed it because it had a slightly different attribute. And when I say people, I mean customers, because this stuff is sold like everywhere. And you can get it in Whole Foods and a bunch of other places. So, and it wasn't just Amazon, because we take what would be the retail one and we e-com package it, and then whatever goes into retail is just regular retail. Either way, people notice there's something different about it. And then a decision was made that, people aren't liking this. We're getting feedback from Amazon reviews, but also buyers at different grocery stores, that there's something different about this particular run or batch. So we decide that we're going to go ahead and stop selling this one, and we're going to do a new run. And I don't know if we switch manufacturers or not, but I'm sure that was a headache for those guys. We're going to pull that, and then, all right, we have our first critter cam. So let's see what we can do here. All right, this is the gathering spot. They tend to hang out here. My goodness, there's a bunch of them. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, 9, 10, 11 that I can count right now. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Plus a couple in there that are really young. Yeah, definitely think they spotted me. All right. Yeah, yeah. You are little, aren't you? All righty. Y'all continue with your breakfast there. All right, that was a pretty good critter cam. I think it was 13 of them in total. We'll see if they're there when we loop back. But the decision was made at the management level to go ahead and pull this inventory because of all the headaches. Oh, look, more. You came up to me. What? I'm not even moving. You should run in one direction. All right, man. And there's another 3 or 4 down that way. So we got 2 over here we just passed. We got the 13 back there. I can see another at least 3 down here. Got a bunch of them here. We'll see if we run into any more. So where were we? Management made the call that we're going to go ahead and pull this product because customers aren't liking the change in the formula. Well, this took months before all this was unearthed and discovered. And then one of the challenges that we had is we had some boxes that were processed that we got permission to sell again on Amazon, and we got other ones that we weren't. So this caused a lot of hiccups in our availability of having product up on Amazon. All right, we're going to do a different creature cam this time, or critter cam. All right, we got a new critter. See if we can see that. Yeah, that's a big old one. Not sure what he's eating. That thing is almost an inch across. Okay, let's get back to the subject at hand. Management decided after months that they wanted to pull this product because formulation's a little different. People didn't like it. So we still have a fair amount of product in because we had lots of hiccups with inventory because we kept on getting bangs on the account. This is overweight. This is not. You need permission. So that was a big headache for months. And then it was just fighting to keep that going. The decision was made that we're going to go ahead and pull the product. Now, this is months later. And by the time everyone made their decision, it was the like November timeframe. We still had roughly 3,000 units from this particular batch in the system. Oh, and that's another thing to be aware of, especially if you're making any kind of consumable or expiring product, is when you send in your product, it's a good idea to make a new SKU when you send in different product. Now, if you don't know it's different, that can make it challenging. But the rule of thumb that I do is at least once a year, I change the SKU. And what that does is that allows you to compartmentalize all the shipments from here and all the shipments from there. One thing Amazon does a bad job of is first in, first out. It's almost like they don't even care or pay attention or anything. We are still getting old returns of product that expired a year ago. Thank goodness those didn't ship and get a bang on our account, because that would have been product we sent in 2 years ago, because Amazon will lose a case, lose a pallet for 6-8 months, then they'll rediscover it, and then they'll put it back in inventory. And this all happens in the background. You don't even know about it. However, if you change the SKU, that will also update the FN SKU on the product itself. So if you're using the FN SKU on your exterior product artwork, so that you don't have to put a sticker on, that's going to be something that you need to update to go along with it. But the whole point of that is you're able to send in, let's call it SKU A, and this is all the same ASIN. It's the same product. It might just be different runs. You got SKU A that's being produced. Then SKU B comes. It's a new SKU, new FN SKU. That goes in. Amazon's going to commingle these two, unless when you send in that shipment for B, you can go into your listing and close that listing, and just the one for the new SKU. Leave the other SKU live. Wait until all that inventory is actually gone down to single digits, and then switch the other one on. That other one that's in single digits should finish, and then the new one is in. Customers don't know any difference. And the point is, you have control over this. If you never change your SKU, what can happen, like I mentioned, is Amazon will lose it, then they'll find it, and they won't re-verify the expiration date, and then they'll send out stuff that's old. Or if you've changed the packaging or different things like that, and you don't necessarily want to commingle the old with the new, because once your marketing copy and images have been updated to the new one, if a customer gets the old version, they're like, hey, why you send me old stuff? So what you do is you make sure you use up all that inventory. And because it's distributed everywhere across North America, where this inventory is going to be, it is seeable. There are reports where you can see how many units they have at every particular warehouse. But instead of trying to chase all these things down because you have zero control other than being able to see it, you just put them in a new bucket, i.e. a new SKU, and then you can control it at that level. The other good thing is, by doing this, is when you turn off that old SKU, if Amazon finds some stuff out in the wild, i.e. their own warehouses, then When they go to put that back in inventory and make it a live product, well, you've closed that listing. And now it ends up being stranded inventory, which, especially if it's an old product that you don't want sold, that's a good thing. That also happens with returns. Amazon will accept returns. They say it's 30 days, but during Christmas, it's a lot longer. It's like from like November 1st to February 28th or something like that. But it also helps deal with those situations where if you've done a swap over of the SKU in between those times, you're not going to get old return product put back in inventory and then resold to another customer. And of course, all this happens without you knowing. You end up with someone like, hey, this is the old thing. Or what happens over time is the first in, first out thing where you don't realize that Amazon still has hundreds of your unit that's expired and they're going to send it out. Customer's going to complain that they got an expired product. Amazon's going to blame you for it. And then you're going to potentially get that listing turned off. You have to go fall in the store to Amazon and say, I'm sorry, I did da 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 da. However, if you're proactive and you set up the updated SKUs, then it's easy to do. You just have to manage it. If it's something that you change frequently, or if you change the formula intentionally, or you change the packaging, always change the SKU. And that way you don't have this commingling of the old stuff and the new stuff, and you're able to manage that. Going back to management's decided, okay, we're going to pull whatever we have left this. It was 3,000 units. And back in the day, they had, if you have something in Amazon and you don't want it to sell, right? You had a couple of different options. I think it was something where like you could maybe, I think it was that you could donate it, you could dispose of it, you can liquidate it, or you can do a removal, i.e. ship it back to you. What I've always done for our clients is to do a removal. And what that does is that gets the product back in my hands, where as an engineer, I can analyze what's wrong with the product, because oftentimes these are returns. With a return, what I look for is, did the customer return the whole thing? Because the customer is getting a refund, we're being charged a refund processing fee. Frequently, we're sending them a replacement unit. So we're out 3 regular sales for the cost of 1 return sale. That's why you have to be careful with your returns. And then sometimes customers don't return the correct thing, or the classic, well, I bought this internet router and someone returned a box with a brick in it. It happens. You got to make sure if you're going to give them credit, at least the product is in there, even if it's an unsellable product. But also, like for me, I'm looking for failure modes. Is there something wrong with this product? Did it get damaged? Did the e-com specific packaging fail? Or are we doing a good job at this and the customer just didn't like the product or whatever reason? Back in the day, Amazon had different options for that. When you did a disposal used to be something where you're getting rid of it for you. Amazon is going to throw it away for you. And what they used to charge, from what I recall, and again, this is 2015, 16, 17 time frame, it used to be 60 cents. Well, you got rid of a unit, they charge you 60 cents processing, and then the part was disposed of. As opposed to doing a removal, and a removal would cost whatever the fulfillment price would be. And that varied between $2 and $6 depending on the size of the product. But it looked like it was legitimately the shipping cost. Another thing to note, that if you do a removal, Amazon doesn't consolidate all this and then put it into one package. What they do is they send a notice out to every single center and they say, hey, we're getting rid of X number of units. Find as many units as you have, wrap them up and send them here. And then so what you'll get, especially if you're returning thousands of units to yourself, is you will get thousands of individual boxes coming back to you. You won't necessarily get one nice stretch wrap pallet with all 3,000 of your units on it, or 5 pallets, or whatever it takes for that quantity, stretch wrap showing up on your dock. You'll get one box with 2 in it, a single one in an envelope. You'll get a quarter of a pallet on one day and then a full pallet another day. what they're doing is they're just pulling whatever they have in all the different centers because now it's distributed everywhere. They'll send that back to you. That's another challenge. If you're doing mass quantities, is it's not going to come back in a nice clean fashion. And so like the normal returns or removals that I do or for any returns are just individual customer returns or things like that. They're not mass, let's pull all our inventory sort of situations. The next thing to look at is if you're going to do a disposal, because again, you have 3,000 units, how long is this particular product going to last? And what I mean is Amazon, and we've talked about this already in a previous video. If you do a disposal, or basically if you don't get your product returned to you, there's a good chance that that is going to end up in the aftermarket process and is going to be put on a pallet and sold at a liquidation price. And then that also means that that product can be shown back up on Amazon where people got it super low price. We already talked about all that. The price for the disposal has now changed and it's equal to the price for the removal. And I'm not sure if Amazon's doing that just to either to make money, to discourage people from doing the disposal. Not completely certain, but it seems unlikely that the cost of shipping it back to yourself would be equal to, in theory, putting it in the dumpster or selling it on liquidation. But that's what it is now. We had a choice. Should we ship all this product back to us or we dispose on site? Not a great option. Again, in the day it was 60 cents. That would have been a kind of a no-brainer. This product has an expiration date, so even if it gets into the gray market, there's only going to be so much time before it's not going to be, it's just going to be unsellable product to anybody because we've got the expiration date, biggest day on the outside of the package. We decided to go with the disposal because what had happened before when we had done previous mass returns of inventory is we had pallets of stuff and then we have to throw it in the dumpster. If all we're going to do is pay to ship it and then we have to pay to dispose of it locally, well, let's just dispose it here. And the likeliness that this particular one's going to come back on the gray market to us is low. I went ahead and put in that disposal order back in December of 23. It was for roughly 3,000 units. And what you would think would happen is those 3,000 units would be sequestered and no longer available. Well, we had challenges with that. And also, we were also manufacturing new product to send in under a new SKU so that we kept them separate. And Amazon would lose product, find product, lose product, find product. And after it was all said and done, they were able to locate just over 2,500 units. We found out that the cost is going to be roughly $3 and I think it was like 89 cents or something like that. But 389 times 2,600 units, that was 9,800. We could round it up, call it 10,000. So we spent $10,000 to do a disposal on this product. And again, this all went back to the manufacturer playing with the formula a little bit, caused the overage in weight, caused us to pay more for fulfillment, caused us to almost get our account shut down. And then now we spent 6 months because it wasn't until June of 24 that we finally got all these charges came through all of a sudden for an extra roughly $10,000 worth of fees. And what you see inside your account would be one charge, 389, 2 times 389. And then a few times we got negative 2,100, negative 938 or whatever it was. The whole thing when you put it together ended up being just on 9,800 and change. This is a cascading effect of the manufacturer making modifications and something that you have to pay attention to and catch as early as possible. If we would have known, and to me, and this is something that was communicated back up to manufacturing, if we would have known back when it was leaving manufacturing that the weight was off, then we knew that, hey, we shouldn't send this into Amazon. The weight's wrong. That would have stopped that headache. The extra money we spent to send out to fulfill heavier product, even though it was listed as being the same 32 ounce, except it was 2 point, instead of 2 pounds, it's 2.6 pounds. And then the eventual removal, where we had to take back what we had left and then dispose of that because something changed in the formula, the customer didn't like it, we're going to modify that. And again, I assume that this is something manufacturing did without authorization. They were probably just trying to size it for the new larger quantities, but they need to measure their weights of their packaging when it leaves manufacturing. So that was a mistake on their part. Now, here at the prep center level, I've got an additional quality gate that I'm going to be measuring the weights of all these different products when they come in and then when they go out as well, to make sure that it's exactly what it's supposed to be so we don't have any surprises. But another lesson is it took Amazon 6 months to find and dispose of all this particular product. In the meantime, we got other inventory in. The previous inventory, it was found, it wasn't found. They had some, so there was like 500 units that were just sort of like floating around that they might have been sold during that transition period. It's not easy to get Amazon to pay attention because they lose onesie twosie things all the time. So it was easy for trying to get rid of 3,000 units. 500 of those fell through the cracks, and then were either sold or just lost. And they might come back at this point. Now that everything's kind of buttoned up on that particular SKU, that SKU is set to off. So if Amazon does find another 100 here, 100 there, they're going to be stuck in stranded inventory, and then we can pull or dispose of them. But that's been a big headache. We had a lot of stock out issues. And again, that's not necessarily Amazon's fault. That's back at the manufacturing. But the lesson that I'm trying to impart here is to interact with your manufacturing, making sure that they're following their own SOPs and that these things are being verified and spot checked on a regular basis. If people knew that the formula was being modified at the manufacturing level, it probably would have been halted before it got to me. And then I'd deal with potential account shutdown because of the overweight issue, paying thousands of dollars more in fulfillment fees, having issues with getting that product live because of the safety concern with the weight issue of the case packs, and then eventually the removal of that particular product, which led us to months and months of being out of stock on a very high selling item. And at the same time, where we had stock, we just didn't want to sell it. And then some of that leaking through Amazon's system and still getting out there. And again, there was a transition period where we were trying to get all those cleaned up on the Amazon side. So yeah, all in all, I think I have some notes here. All in all, what we were looking at is the cost of removal was about $10,000. Our cost of goods sold for the product that we didn't sell, for the 2,500 units that we did the disposal on, they were roughly $6 a piece, something like that. It may have been a bit more because they're custom e-compact. But we're looking at 2,600 units. That's another $15,000. The extra fulfillment we ended up paying for what we did ship was around $3,000. So we're looking at $28,000 extra because of a manufacturing mistake that was caught after it was already in the field. It's very important that as you scale, that you pay attention to these different things and you put in inspection points in your process so that you catch these things early. We'd been selling this on Amazon for years. We never had an issue with either the product or the weight or anything. And so I had already put everything in place at the prep center, and the prep center is not used to doing individual weighing on every single product coming in, because again, once the initial run's done, everyone's going to assume that the product is consistent. Well, that'd be great. However, mistakes happen. And so if you're getting product in from overseas or even in the US, I recommend that you spot checks on the quality. You check the weight, you check the packaging, you check the product itself. You don't know if the manufacturer is doing a good job of spot checking themselves, or they could have a piece of tooling that's wearing out, which causes a defect or a physical defect or let's call it an appearance defect with that particular product. And if you were a small seller and let's say you're making stuff, this is like garage level things where you're selling a couple hundred units a month. Well, you're hands on, you see what it is, if it's good or not. But as you scale up, now it's out of your direct vision on what you could see. And these systems are leveraging the scale of the system. We're processing multiple trucks and then sending into Amazon a half truck. And if 8,000 of those units have some sort of defect, that's rework, that is disposal, that's a lot of different things. It's something to put in place again as you're scaling your business. Put these systems in place, and the thing to pay attention to is just because it's been working doesn't mean it's going to keep working. Therefore, having your SOPs in place, measuring the weight, doing spot checks. I would even say that if something's super consistent, I would at least set up to do once a quarter, do some kind of spot check on your product, order it back from Amazon, and see if it's what you think it is. Because especially once you're getting up to scale, you're not hands on with the individual product anymore, and things could be drifting. And depending on who is actually making that and paying attention, if they're not told to pay attention, they probably won't. And problems happen, and when problems happen at scale, it costs a lot of money to clean it up. If you were a smaller company and you made a $28,000 to $30,000 mistake, that could have been the end of the company, because that might have been the capital you needed to run your next run of product. There's a lot of different things to look at. All in all, the lesson is pay attention, spot check your quality, be aware that certain things can change without the product being blatantly wrong. Like in our case, it was overweight. Well, again, if somebody orders a quarter pounder and they get a third pounder, no one's going to complain like, hey, you gave me more food. Like, however, if in the back you're running the business and every burger is supposed to be a quarter pound and somebody's making them as a third pound, what's going to happen is you're going to get 3/4 of the way through the day, you're not going to have any more hamburgers. Oh, so you got to spot check these things. You got to put things in place to verify that the data that you thought you're operating off is the data that you're currently operating off of, so that you can keep running. And then also put things in place to where if a mistake is made, you catch it as early as possible in the process so that it doesn't go through all these other stages to where, because as things go along in either a manufacturing process or in the logistics all the way to sell to the customer, the cost to recover that increases the further it gets down the chain. The more money you've put into doing this, like if this was caught at the manufacturer before it got shipped to our prep center, that has saved the cost because we processed 8,000 units to send into Amazon. That's boxes, labor, all that sort of cost. But then we shipped it in Amazon. Well, that cost money to ship it into Amazon. And then we had problems, and then we had to solve those problems. That took up labor time, management time, writing letters to Amazon, getting all these different things, and then eventually removing the product from the whole system, and then dealing with inventory issues of where is the commingling happen? How can we keep everything clean? That's the thing to pay attention to. And the good thing is, while you are a smaller company and you're scaling, you can put these different systems in place and catch these things early. And then you don't have catastrophic issues that can potentially put you out of business. We had a fair amount of critters today. So let me know if there's other topics you want to talk about on either making new products, the logistics, your fulfillment costs. And that was definitely something that was kind of hidden, that, oh, we're paying more money to ship this out to the customers because it's heavier. We made a mistake and we paid more money to ship it. Let me know how you like these particular walks. This is walk number 6. And let me know what other topics you want to cover, and we can keep going on these. Comment any questions on setting up your Amazon business, manufacturing, packaging, different things like that. Go ahead and put it in the comments below. and I could talk about this, and we'll take you out here, out in nature, and figure out what we can do to keep more profit in your pocket. All right, looks like we got another gaggle of them. Well, we got more here to the right. Man, y'all are having a pretty good year.